Hi everyone, welcome back to It's Called Football, Not Soccer, the podcast. My name is Michaela and I'm from New York, and this is my husband Mitchell. He's from London. So this is our second episode. We uploaded our first episode a couple of weeks ago, so we have a lot to talk about. We want to talk about the first couple of fixtures of the season. We'll talk about Arsenal's performance. We'll talk a little bit about the transfer window, some injuries, some VAR controversy. We'll talk about the Women's World Cup, and just overall, like, how the Premier League is going so far.
And we also just want to put a disclaimer out there just to say, obviously you can see we've both got our Arsenal jerseys on, our Arsenal shirts. So please, if you aren't an Arsenal fan and we offend your team, don't take it to heart. This is just our own opinion. So we're just trying to talk about football and document it and just see how you like it.
It's just for fun. And another disclaimer, this is not like a slander account for any other football team. We just love Arsenal.
But hate Tottenham. And let's get into it.
Okay, so right now we have the Premier League table in front of us. Brighton is number one. They've won both of their games 4-1.
Yeah, so they're top on goal difference. But we have to say, obviously, 2 games in, it's very hard to look at the table and kind of think this is how it's going to end up. It's very early days, but it is starting to take shape, as you can see with the top 3, even the top 6. You know, it's a mixture of usual top 6 sides maybe in the last few seasons,
all the
but
usual except for Brighton
and Chelsea and Man United. Oh right, okay. Are you saying in the top half? Yeah, I mean, it's taking shape, but like I said,
so
2 games in, so we'll see.
Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
But for those of you who are new to football, like myself, we're talking about the Premier League table, which basically is a point system, and it ranks each team in the Premier League who has the highest points and who has the lowest points, and obviously the team who has the highest points wins the Premier League. And when you're looking at the top 5...
Well, it might be the top 5 this season for the Champions League places, yeah, which is the European competition.
So the top 5 teams, they go on to be in the Champions League, not to be confused with the Championship League. Just a quick question.
But let's just quickly break it down more about the Premier League. So the Premier League, you play 38 games, you play each team home and away throughout the season. Okay,
Why
so we'll break it down.
So firm?
We're really, stripping it back to basics. And then for a win, how many points do you get?
3.
For a draw, how many points do you get?
1.
And if you lose?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want our opponents to get. We want them to get nothing. Because
we want to get nothing.
Because although a team that loses a game doesn't go negative in their points total, they're considered dropping points because the other teams in the table will increase in points for every draw or win that they get. So
far, only 3 teams that have had maximum points, so 2 wins so far out of 2 games, is Brighton, Manchester City and Arsenal, which isn't too much of a surprise with the fixtures that they've had. But it obviously, as time goes on, they'll have to play each other, so we'll see how that pans out over time. But I guess going back to last weekend, I guess we'll go over...
I thought we were going to talk a little bit, because I have a question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Who named it the Champions League, and who named the league below the Premier League the Championship League? The Championship League. Who would do that? Who did that? Who made that decision?
Again, we're gonna. I'm not too sure on that one.
Does that make sense to you?
I mean, It's just been. I don't know who named it. No, I don't know who named it, but it is named like that. It might get confusing. The Championship is the league below the Premier League, and the Champions League is the better European competition, where the top 4 or 5 teams, usually 4 or 3 even for some different countries or whatever, go into the following season, go into the Champions League, which is a big competition where all the best teams in Europe play against each other to see who is the best team in Europe, and it goes throughout the whole season. That's it in simple terms.
Okay, well, I just wanted to highlight that it seems silly to have the best group be called Champions League and then
Championship. I mean, it is different, but
versus Championship. Champions versus Championships. Do you not?
No, Champions League.
Yeah, Champions League versus Championship.
Yeah,
Are you
different.
kidding right now?
I don't know. It's different.
Let me know in the comments if you agree with me, because
Okay. Well, we're not here to debate that for the whole episode, so let's move on. Let's move on to, I guess, last weekend's fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, we'll actually start, I guess, from backwards. We'll start with Monday night, which Arsenal played Crystal Palace away.
Mm-hmm.
1-0 win. Had 10 men for the last 30 minutes in the second half, which was terrible, terrible refereeing. Yet again.
We will get into that a little bit later.
About VAR.
And like bad, weird refs. Weird decisions,
Yeah.
let's say
But
that.
anyway, back to the performance. Played well. Looked solid.
Stressful.
Stressful, but, you know, it was a solid win. You need to go away to these kind of grounds and win with a clean sheet, with 10 men to win different ways. It was important to see. And it was a good first away performance, I think, before the next London derby against Fulham tomorrow. So, yeah, I think it was really good. You know, the great thing about our team now, the squad depth is so much better. So if Odegaard's not performing, Martinelli will step up. If he's not performing, then Saka will step up. If he's not performing, Eddie will hopefully come alive, Eddie Nketiah. So, you know, our squad is definitely getting stronger, so we're not relying on
one person.
Or just, so that's good to see. And same with the defence. It was great. Gabriel hasn't started 2 games, and we haven't really needed him properly, and we've still done well at the back. So yeah, it's a good start so far. What do you think of Declan Rice's performance?
Very good. He's very good.
He is.
I mean,
he's £105 million worth of good.
He doesn't like it when you talk about that. He has said that on multiple interviews,
Yeah,
Mitchell.
I know.
Because it's not up to him. Wasn't hit like. And I mean, I would say that he was worth every penny. Would you disagree?
Well, yeah. After Caicedo, we haven't. I mean, the last time we did an episode, Caicedo hadn't moved yet, but he moved for £115 million to Chelsea. And in his first game, gave away a penalty. He looked miles off it. He'll get better.
He was like crying at the end of that game.
Yeah.
Well,
he was.
Okay, don't smile about it.
I'm not. They're playing tonight, actually. Chelsea are playing against Luton, and they're looking for their first win of the season. They're on 1 point. They've had a draw and a loss. So.
Okay, let's try to stay on track.
Yeah, we will.
So why don't we just? I've highlighted a couple of like the interesting things. So Brighton is on top. They've played Luton and they've played Wolves, and they've won both games 4-1.
The problem is you can't read too much into that.
Well, because
the teams
they played
and Luton, yeah, they're both pretty poor teams. Luton especially.
I think that Wolves looks better this season than they did last season so far. But Luton, for anybody who doesn't know, Luton is one of the teams that just got promoted from the Championship League. So they're new. This is their first time in the Premier League.
So we call it Championship, not Championship League, because that would be a confusing thing.
Oh, it's the league? The word league is what makes it confusing?
Yes.
Well, what do you call it? You literally just call it the Championship?
Yeah. You'll learn it. You'll learn it in time.
No, I would like to highlight that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, Luton got promoted. I really wish them the best. Wish them the best.
They've had to redo their stadium.
Yeah.
They've actually only played 1 game. so far because they couldn't play the home game
Right.
with the
And
stadium.
you know
so-
what? Even with that in mind, they're not last.
Yeah. Well,
They're not last.
I know, but it's
You know
because
who
they-
is last?
Yeah.
Everton.
Yeah. They're
So
goal
what's
different.
going on
-5.
there?
They haven't scored a goal.
Yeah.
They're lucky. Yeah, they're
So-
struggling.
I have highlighted a couple of the interesting ones. So starting from the bottom, Everton is bottom of the league, and they have been fighting relegation for the past couple of seasons. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, they have.
I just wanted to know if you had anything to add, so I
I
didn't
mean-
interrupt you.
You got to be careful of that. I mean, they've struggled financially. They're building a new stadium. The fans are just not really with them. I think the reason why they stayed up last year was Sean Dyche, who's their current manager. He came in and just gave them a bit of a kick up the arse, and they. That's the kind of way that's the way he manages. He's just a ruthless guy and just tries to sort out the defence.
Mhm.
They'll nick goals, but they try and stay solid at the
Yeah.
back and nick a goal, and that's what they did, and they got through. And they should. I mean, they have a good enough squad, but the fans will get on the back of the players, and it will be toxic again. So we'll see.
I have two things. First of all, their goalkeeper is someone named Jordan Pickford, and he is
He's
the
a
first
nutter.
choice England not like national team.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper. He's like first choice, so it would be really, really wild, in my opinion, if Everton got relegated.
Well, also financially, it will not work for them. If they go down to the Championship and don't have Premier League money, and they've just spent a lot of money to go into this stadium, which is happening next season or the season after or whatever, they can't afford to go down. They really can't. So it's going to really impact them if they go down.
Well, I mean, wouldn't any team be
Yeah,
seriously
it would, but
impacted if
it's
they went
really
down?
bad timing. Really bad timing with the stadium. They might come good. They might get some players towards the end and start playing together as a team again. But we'll see. They are at the moment bottom. They've played they played Fulham at home and Aston Villa away. Aston Villa away is tough. Fulham at home was the first game of the season. I think there was a couple of chances for Everton to actually get something out of the game, but they didn't. So we'll see. I can't remember who they've got this weekend. It's probably someone tough. I don't know, but we'll see. Let's see. They've got Wolves. Oh, that's an interesting game. They've got Wolves. Wolves at home. So yeah, it's a huge game. It's a huge game for them. Both of them. They need to get their first points of the season. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on to who do you want to move on to next?
Okay, so then I just wanted to highlight that Chelsea is number 15 in the table. That's really, really out of character for them.
Yeah, it's a shame.
They're having
I think they spent
Okay,
nearly £1 billion since the owners come in. So they're doing.
they're having
doing
a really
all right.
hard time. They're having a really difficult time because from my opinion, I don't really know anything, but I feel bad for them. I actually feel really bad for them because all of these players are going there. Like, I think the incentive is money.
And let's just remember they're giving 7-8 year
Mhm.
contracts out to these players,
Yeah.
which is where is the incentive for a young player to come in on maybe a 4 or 5 year contract? If they do well in a season or a couple of seasons, then they're rewarded with a pay rise and a new contract. So where's the incentive for that? They've just got 8 year contract. Will it change? Who knows?
I feel for them. Like, you look at someone like Mudryk, he's such a young guy, and he went there probably because he was promised, well, first of all, the money, and then, like, the legend of Chelsea. Chelsea is historically they're a top 5 team.
Yeah, but
They're
they've always
a
been
big club.
They've
They're
always
a
been
massive club.
always been a club that spend a lot of money for short-term, quick results, and then they've gone through a lot of managers over time.
But it's
so-
been wild. No,
Yeah.
it's been
No,
absolutely
this has been
wild.
crazy. I mean,
It's-
they've made a lot of money with sales, so it doesn't look as bad. They spent a lot of money in the summer. They're still buying. They're still paying for more and more players. And they're still getting rid of players. But
It's almost like they're just buying players so that another team can't buy them.
yeah, and they've bought so many youth players,
Yeah.
like kind of meant to be really good, promising players for the future, and then loan them out. So we'll see if they actually come good. But that's their model right now, is to buy young players, up and coming, and also young players that can play right now as well, a bit of mixture.
So Chelsea, their first game was against Liverpool, and they ended up with a tie, 1-1. And I remember we watched that game together.
Yeah, it was pretty much cancelling each other out, really.
Yeah.
It was, the midfield was so open,
Yeah.
which obviously both Chelsea and Liverpool have bought a lot more midfield. Well, Chelsea bought 2 midfielders for, I think it was like 170 million combined, and
Yeah.
then Liverpool bought 1 player in as well.
We'll get to Liverpool. But then Chelsea's second game was against West Ham, and West Ham beat them 3-1.
And that was really
Yeah.
good game. West Ham looked really
Yeah.
really good.
It was a
actually.
really good game.
So and they're just about to buy Mohamed Kudus from Ajax, who was linked with a lot of big teams. So he's going to add a lot to them. James Ward-Prowse, he was the captain of Southampton last year. They went down, but he's been at Southampton since he was, I think in the academy, and he's great with set pieces, free kicks, corners. He got 2 assists. He looks good. So West Ham looked really good. It was a home game, but just Chelsea haven't started well.
Yeah.
But they're playing tonight. They should beat Luton. Maybe they'll start getting a bit more confidence. They do have, I think, the next 6 fixtures they've got winnable games. So, they can turn it around quite quickly.
I wish them the best. Okay, then number 12 in the table is Manchester United. I highlighted this too because pretty crazy. They are struggling. Their first game was against Wolves and they won 1-0. And Wolves looked really good.
Yeah.
Wolves looked so good.
We haven't done an
No, we
episode
haven't.
since, and that was crazy. But
That
at
was
the
a
end with the VAR,
crazy
it was he
game.
literally, the goalkeeper he took out the Wolves striker, his 6'9" striker. He literally clotheslined him.
So can I tell the story
Yeah.
for our listeners who don't know anything that you're talking about?
Yeah.
So, Manchester United's goalkeeper, his name is Onana, right?
What's his name?
Don't be silly. He was in the goal, and Wolves were on the attack. They were going for a goal, and Onana jumped out of the goal, like presumably to get the ball, but he was nowhere near the ball, totally missed it, and he ended up taking out the Wolves player, like seriously
Right around the
taking him
neck.
out. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it was a total
It was
clothesline.
like a wrestling move.
It was a wrestling move. It was like a headlock.
It's like a choke slam.
Yeah. A body slam with a choke. Yeah. It was. And for some they went to VAR to see if there was a penalty. If it was a penalty, it was so clear.
And they were looking at it for a while.
They were
as well.
looking at it for a while. Everybody was kind of on the same page that it was a penalty. It was like so crazy. It wasn't really like a gray area, and they said no penalty. And then so United won. They won the game 1-0, and then after the game, VAR and the referee guy, what's his name?
Howard Webb.
Howard Webb, who was at the game. He was
the
watching
head
the
of
game.
VAR,
He was there.
or head of referees. Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
He was literally there watching. They put out a statement apologizing and saying that it should have been a penalty. And then the referee and the person on the VAR, like watching the VAR, they were not on the schedule for the next game. But like, what does that do?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been a tie.
But also, it is typical that it's happened at Old Trafford for Man United, because a lot of decisions have gone towards Man United over recent times, so even back in the day. So it's kind of quite typical that it's happened that way, but it was so clear and so obvious that the ref got that wrong. And the thing is, VAR, they've been told not to intervene on, like, I guess, close calls. But if they're that obvious, they need to intervene, and they didn't. And that's what happened, but they got their first win, but it didn't really help. I mean, didn't really... It paved over the cracks, I guess, because they got beaten 2-0 by Tottenham pretty badly, actually. They, again, was so open last weekend.
I think that United is once again going through a really hard time. There's a lot of teams this year that seem to be really going through it, and I feel for them.
Well, it's always at the start of the season as well. Sometimes you have a bit of...
This feels a little bit different.
They've got some injuries as well.
They've got
Luke
some
Shaw
injuries.
and Mason Mount both.
They've lost some players. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, we've got to play them as well next weekend. So yeah,
Well,
there's a lot of things going on for every team,
Yeah.
but they haven't started well. They're 12th right now, so
that's
they're
crazy
mid-table.
because some people
Think they're
anyway.
going to win the league. But yeah,
Right, okay.
Gary Neville.
No, but he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He actually
He
doesn't.
doesn't. He knows the truth.
He just wants the owners out. That's what he wants. But
Well, I think they might need to leave. I mean, for the sake of the football.
I guess we'll move on anyway from Man United. We don't talk too much about
Okay,
them.
then number 8 is Newcastle. The reason why this is interesting is because Newcastle was on fire last season,
Yeah.
and they their first game was against Aston Villa. They beat them 5-1.
Battered them.
Amazing. I really like Newcastle. I think they're like tough and cool, and there's a player who only has half a finger. Like, how hard is that? That's like
Well, he's got 4 fingers.
and then their second game was to Man City, and they lost 1-0, and that was really sad for me to see.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really do
They
much.
didn't play
They didn't
well.
play well. They
It
just
was
looked
weird.
very off it.
It was an off game.
But against Man City, it's going to happen, I guess, if they're going to lose. But a huge game they've got on Sunday against Liverpool at home. That's going to be massive. So we'll see. And they'll definitely be up for that. They'll have a huge atmosphere.
Yeah.
Liverpool look a bit shaky, which we're going to go on to in a bit.
So number 6 in the table is Tottenham. The reason why this is interesting is because Harry Kane is no longer there, and it was kind of weird because they almost looked better without him. Nothing
yeah.
against Harry Kane. I'm happy that he's not
I mean,
at
they
Tottenham
just,
anymore.
to be fair, they in the second half against Brentford just didn't. They just sat back. They just invited Tottenham to have the ball, which is quite unlike Brentford. So they should have really got a win out of that game, Brentford, but they tried to let Tottenham have it a bit too much. And then against United, it's hard because both of those games are tough, and they've taken 4 points, so fair play. And they've got Bournemouth away, so they might have a good start, but that will come crashing down at some point. It's bound to happen. But let's move on quickly to.
Okay,
to
number 5 is Liverpool. They tied with Chelsea their first game, like we already talked about, and then they beat Bournemouth 3-1, which
they were losing 1-0, and then they turned it around. But this, I mean, I don't know if you saw the VAR red card. Or it wasn't a VAR red card. It was a red card,
and that guy got sent off.
Yeah, but he's banned.
Yeah,
it's been
he's not
overturned.
But here's the thing: who cares? Who cares what happens now? That game is ruined. They should have to do a rematch. No.
Thank God you're not in charge, because the players would not. They'd have to rematch every single.
Well,
game.
no, then fire the referees. Are you kidding right now?
Because
no.
I mean, we'll go on talking about Arsenal in a little bit about the VAR, but I mean, if we conceded, they'd have to rematch that, because that was a joke. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
All right.
They can't just do rematches.
All right.
all the time.
I
That's
feel like
just
we're spending a lot of time. Let's keep going. I'm
move
getting
on.
bored. Brentford, number 4. They tied with Tottenham 2-2, and then they beat Fulham 3-0. Good for them.
Bad.
All right. Good for them. Good for them.
solid.
Whatever. Number 3 is Arsenal. We won both of our games. The first game was at home against Nottingham Forest, and we won 2-1.
Smashed him in the first half. Sat back. conceded a
not
goal.
really sure.
Got obviously a big
because-
injury to Timber,
yeah.
but we move on. And we moved on quickly to Crystal Palace, and then we beat them 1-0, which we talked about a bit earlier. So that's Arsenal. We'll come back to about the VAR mistakes in a bit. Man City, I mean, they've had 2 clean sheets. They beat Burnley away 3-0.
That's
easy.
not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair that was their
It was
first
too
game.
easy. It was too
Like,
easy.
are you kidding? Whatever.
They batter them every single time they play them. And then they beat Newcastle 1-0. Again, wasn't a great performance. Newcastle were a bit off it. They didn't really create too much, and they just won solidly. And then onto Brighton, top of the table, 4-1, which we've already spoken about, Luton and Wolves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's happened over the last couple of weeks. There's some big games this weekend. We're going to the game against Fulham at the Emirates tomorrow, 3 o'clock. That's going to
It'll
be
fun.
interesting game. So we want to obviously keep a clean sheet and get a solid win. keep the roll going. Man City away at Sheffield United, Brighton against West Ham, that'll be interesting. Liverpool, Newcastle. So there's a lot of good games on. But should we move on to VAR?
Yeah, we've been dying to talk about this. We've mentioned it 1,000 times in the past 20 minutes. So let's just talk about it. Mitchell, tell the story of what happened against Crystal Palace.
With Tomiyasu.
Yes.
Okay, so if you haven't seen it already, Tomiyasu, Arsenal's left back for the game. It's actually we got the left back. What would you call it?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
He's on the left side of the defence, on the wing.
And what's the defence?
Okay, we'll move on. We're not going to be answering every question.
Oh, but
what's the defence?
Sure.
Defence is the last line before the goalkeeper.
Okay.
Their aim is to defend the goal.
Very good. I just want to make sure, my family watches this podcast and they don't know what's going on.
I think they do.
Oh,
if you've got any questions,
very sweet.
We're going back to VAR. So Tomiyasu, Arsenal's left back for the game. We got a throw in. It was midway through the second half, maybe early in the second half. Got a throw in. Havertz held the ball for maybe 10, 12 seconds to take the throw in, then passed it on to Tomiyasu. Just typical time wasting, as you do if you're winning a game, or I can't remember if we were winning at that time. I think we were.
So it was time wasting.
I mean, they say it's time wasting, but you're just picking up the ball and then passing it to the next player. They've just clamped down it a lot this season. There's been so many more yellows for it, and it's a bit crazy. But instead of booking Havertz, the referee booked Tomiyasu, because Tomiyasu picked up the ball, was looking for someone to throw to, threw it in about 5 seconds or 8 seconds or whatever it was, and he got a yellow, his first yellow for it, which was first of all crazy. I mean, they've stamped down on it, so fair enough, but it's nuts. And then the second yellow was ridiculous. He clipped the ball over the top, his side, player just in front of him, just tugs on the shirt, or barely touches the guy, and he just drops to the floor. Because it looked like he was running through a bit, the ref gives another yellow.
He gave a yellow for pulling a shirt, because when you can't pull an opponent's shirt.
But it was barely a
But
pull,
he didn't, but when they play, he didn't touch him? He literally didn't touch him.
The guy just drops to the floor. But the guy that drops to the floor, he was on a yellow, and he did the exact same thing to Saka. I can't remember if it was the 60th minute, it was in the first half, I can't even remember, but did the same thing to Saka, nothing. So it's not even the fact that it was a soft yellow card for the second one. The time wasting is they're doing that, so fair enough, he got a yellow for it. Should have given it to Havertz anyway. But that was not a second yellow for the tug on the shirt. And to make it even worse, he literally didn't book the guy who he pulled down before when he fouled Saka. So it made no sense. But the problem is, when you get 2 yellows, you can't even go to VAR. Even though it is a big game-changing moment, it didn't affect the game in the end because we saw it out. But if it did, and you drop points and then you lose the league by a couple of points, then you look back at these moments and think, what would have happened? It's crazy. But obviously you can't. Over 38 games, you shouldn't have that many bad things against you. So we'll see if they change that, but I don't know.
I think they need to revisit that. Like, there needs to be there needs to be a governing board over referee decisions. Like, it's true. Why are you laughing at me?
No, that's great. We should get the governing board in place. We should.
Well, what would you call it, Mitchell?
No,
what would you call it?
The governing body.
Call it a governing body? Alright, whatever. Anyway, I just think that, like, human error is a thing. Like, I'm not trying to say that these referees are cheats, even though that's, like, everybody's initial reaction is to call a referee a cheat. Like, I don't think that that's what's happening. I just think that human error, Yeah. People make mistakes, and that's why we need to have checks and balances.
And there's a really interesting podcast that Mike Dean just did, actually. So you need to...
Me?
Yeah, well, I need to...
Oh.
Yeah, you need to watch that. There was a few
Right.
controversial things about last season.
That he thinks.
No, that he didn't... he was on VAR.
And he didn't intervene.
And he didn't intervene because he didn't think his mate would want him to.
Did he?
As in his referee mate.
Yeah.
The guy, the referee in the game.
I know.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't seen the whole podcast, but we'll see if it's. I mean, he shouldn't be saying that. He shouldn't come out and say that, and then he's going to now put. He's now going to cause
everybody in it, but like maybe he should be. Maybe there needs to be somebody who's saying, "Hey, bit of a power trip."
Yeah, but it was terrible VAR. I mean, just VAR didn't even intervene. So
hopefully they get it right. I mean, VAR is relatively new in the Premier League. So for anybody, my American friends and family, VAR is sort of like instant replay in American football, except like 100 times slower and like worse. So that's what VAR is. Video Assistant Referee is what it stands for. So it's only been in for a couple of seasons, so maybe this season is a season where they perfect it.
And talking about VAR, moving nicely onto the Women's World Cup, they actually trialled out so when they looked at the monitor to overturn or check the review or whatever of what happened, then they would announce it on a microphone to the crowd while they. I mean, I don't know.
I liked it.
It doesn't really do too much. I guess it does explain what's going on, but it's not really going to change anything. It's just communicated in a better way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I never know what's going on. I just have to look at the people around me. When I'm physically at a game, like, I don't know.
I guess it's hard to see.
It's hard to know what they're saying or what they're
and in NFL, they always when they
there's always some guy.
They come on with the
it's like a big deal.
Say,
it's their moment to shine, to like announce it. So I don't know.
And then since our last episode, the Women's World Cup, England got to the final. Unfortunately, lost to Spain, but
they did.
It was a great run.
Such a good game.
Really, yeah.
The goalkeeper, she is the Manchester United goalkeeper.
Mary Earps.
Yeah, Herps.
No, Earps with an E.
Okay. She is phenomenal. She's so unbelievable. She
saved a penalty.
She saved a penalty. She saved
a lot of shots.
She was the star of the show. She did so good.
She won the Golden Glove for the whole World Cup, which is the best goalkeeper throughout the World Cup.
I really felt for England. Obviously, I felt for England because they lost and they got so far. But, like, they were so tired and, like, they were just off. They were just off the whole game. They definitely got off that game for some reason. I'm not sure what it was. But they just didn't seem as up for it. Spain were playing. They had a lot of the ball possession-wise, and it was just tough. They just were chasing it throughout, really. They didn't hit the bar early on. If that went in, it would have been a different game. I think that changed the game for them. I think that was really like not good for morale, and they kind of couldn't keep it together after that. But, like, still so proud that they were able to get to the final, and, like, obviously they're killing it. Like, there's just going to be more success to come.
And also England had, I think, 3 or 4 players that were injured, big players. Leah Williamson, Beth Mead, and there was another player.
All ACLs, right?
2 ACLs, I think. One wasn't, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of ACL injuries, and I guess since we last did the podcast, Timber got injured.
Yeah, Timber also, but was that an ACL?
Yeah, it was considered ACL, but there's there's different injuries, there's different impacts.
Yeah, I think Timbers was a meniscus.
It was, I think, it wasn't a complete rupture. I think it was a tear, so it wasn't as bad. It's still bad, but yeah.
Well, I know with women, with the women's football or soccer, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's called football, not soccer.
There are a lot of studies that they want to do because there's been a serious increase in women rupturing their ACLs while they're playing, and I think that would be really
But there's also been a lot. There's been a lot in the men's game.
Recently?
Yeah, in the last few weeks. Tyrone Mings from Aston Villa, Buendia from Aston Villa, a couple in Spain as well.
Like maybe that's an Aston Villa problem.
Well, that was Aston Villa. Obviously, Timber did his.
Say Aston Villa again.
And then, who else was there? Courtois, the goalkeeper. He did his. I don't know how he did his. He's a goalkeeper, but yeah.
What I mean, they have a physical job, Mitchell.
True. But it's kind of less likely to happen to a goalkeeper. But it's become a bit of a problem.
And then, to get back to the Women's World Cup, obviously Spain won. Good for them. But then after, like, during the celebrations, I don't know who that guy is,
I
but
think he's what is he?
it was on camera.
Is he the president of the football, of the Spanish football? I think maybe. I'm not sure.
He kissed one of the Spain players on the mouth, like full on the mouth, and has since been asked to apologize. It's been like really crazy.
Well, there's something happened today. I don't know.
I don't know what happened today.
There was something that happened
we
today.
can come back to this when we both have more information, but like that's so sad too that's now what everybody is talking about, rather than Spain winning the World Cup, like their unbelievable performance, and it's being overshadowed by that. I mean, it's not okay, but it's just sad that that's what's going on.
Yeah. But well, yeah, there's definitely
so we can
something
come
happened
back to that because there were other things that went on today. We don't have all of the information, so we'll just put a pin in it.
We'll go on to Liverpool.
So there has been, I don't know.
Nothing's really happened, but Mo Salah, there's been a bit of talk of Saudi Arabian club coming in for Mo Salah. I think they're called Al Etihad or something like that. Sounds like Man City Stadium, but Mo Salah potentially might leave. I don't think he will, because if they lose him, they are really...
They haven't really gotten new
signings. It's a tough
They're going through it too.
Yeah, they're going through a tough time, but
yeah.
I think he'll stay. He's crucial to them and getting back into the Champions League. I just don't see why he would go to Saudi Arabia yet. He's 31. He's still got a good 2-3 years in Europe before he goes, I'd say. But
so once again, for our listeners who are new to football, what is the prime for the average footballer, like age, to play? What is their prime? What's the age?
You're asking me. I think you're asking the viewers.
No, I'm not. No, they can't answer me. They can't answer me right now. I want you to tell.
So, I mean, I would say it all varies. Everyone has different development, but I'd say probably 26 to 32.
Okay,
but it depends on the position. It depends on...
Goalkeepers tend to...
They seem to go a bit further.
Mature.
It's usually maybe 28. For a goalkeeper, it could be 28 to 35 or 28 to 34 or whatever.
And what would be the average age that a footballer retires, generally speaking?
34, 35. But again, it's all down to injury, down to if they want to carry on at a low level or whatever, you know.
So when you see players in the Premier League who move, like, I don't know, said the MLS in America or somewhere else, it's usually because they're, like, trying to wind down.
Yeah, and the money as well can be really good. It's a mixture of money, trying a different experience. Sometimes they go, I mean, obviously Harry Kane's gone to Bayern Munich to try and win things, try a different culture, try and win Champions Leagues and get trophies, because all he's been kind of recognised for is scoring goals and trying to break records individually, nothing as a team.
But I think that was his only way to leave Tottenham.
Maybe.
Was to leave the Premier League.
Maybe. Yeah.
So for Mo Salah, this might just be, if he's 31, I mean, that would be a normal age for a player to move on.
And I think they're apparently, I mean, reports are saying 1.5 million per week.
That's a sin.
It's quite, yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of money. 1.5 million per week. So
what is Messi on?
Don't know.
And how old is he?
36, maybe 35.
Oh, okay. So then, I don't know. Interesting. Let's keep our eyes out for what happens with that.
Yeah, we'll keep everyone updated. But do you want to go on to Arsenal?
Well, we talked about the injuries already.
New signings, overall performance. I mean, yeah, we've kind of touched on all of that as well.
Yeah. They're playing well. I'm excited for tomorrow's game. I want to see high energy. I want us to be, what's the word that Arteta always uses? Ruthless? Aggressive?
Passion.
Bold. He doesn't use that word, but I want to see them be bold.
Okay, no, fair enough. But yeah, we just want to see a good performance, a clean sheet. Aaron Ramsdale, it'll be funny if David Raya starts. That would be interesting.
Maybe he will.
I don't think he will, but You know,
You
it's definitely
probably
a much stronger squad. Still would love to add 1 or 2 players. Looks like Balogun's leaving to Monaco. Tierney's going to Sociedad in Spain. So, you know,
Punch in the gut.
yeah, but it's just not the style of football. He doesn't suit Arsenal with what Arteta wants. So it's kind of understandable. A few other players trying to get them out the door to bring in 1 or 2 more, and because it's going to
When
shut
does it end?
in I think 7 days. It's either a week today or a week yesterday. I think it's end of August, early
Okay.
September. So
the next time that we talk, we'll probably
it'll be
be
deadline
wrapping
day
up
or,
the
the window will be about to shut. So we'll see. But there's obviously a big, a lot of big games this weekend. We'll see how the table looks for the next podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Again, any questions, comments, put them in there, whatever. We'll try and discuss it in the next episode. And thanks really for listening. And once again,
It's called Football, Not Soccer. Thanks so much for watching.
and we'll see you in the next episode.